Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to have the person standing with me to introduce themselves, but for the record, my name is Darnell Williams. I'm the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts.
I'm Reverend Mark Scott. I'm the Associate Pastor of the Azusa, AZUSA Christian Community, Azusa Christian Community. I'm the co-chair of the Youth Violence Reduction Task Force, which is citywide, and Azusa is in Dorchester.
Reverend Arthur Gerald, the President of the Black Ministerial Alliance and pastor of 12th Baptist Church.
What we thought that we would do is to try to give you a sense, and first of all, thank all of you from the Media Corps for staying and waiting to after this meeting. We were invited along with several members of the Muslim community. There were women in the room representing various aspects of our community, along with the civil rights community, community activists, and clergy. This is an ongoing investigation, and as a result of that, the FBI, the Carmen Ortiz from the U.S. Attorney's Office, and Commissioner Evans from the Boston Police Department, because of the nature of an ongoing investigation, there were many questions we had that were not answered. The only thing that we can tell you or share with you is that we did see a video. What the video does reveal to us very clearly is that the individual was not on the cell phone, the individual was not shot in the back, and that the information that was reported by others that that was the case is inaccurate. We are going to have to wait until after the investigation is completed before we determine or whether or not it's determination on the justifiable, whether it's justifiable shoot. That's not our role. What we were hopeful for and what we expected, there was a level of transparency, and that transparency was given. We're very comfortable with what we saw, but we can't come to any conclusions about what we saw. But the video was a little distant, but yet we did see it. I believe that the District Attorney Conley has indicated he wants the family of the victim that was killed to see the video before it's released to the public. So I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to convey not only to our various constituencies, but to the general public that what has been stated, that the individual was shot in the back while he was on the cell phone talking to his father, was false, and that there were 3 shots to the individual, 1 to the shoulder, 1 to the abdomen, and 1 to the chest. So those are the facts as we know it. I'll stop here to rather see if Reverend Scott and Reverend Gerald want to say, make any other comments, and then I'll come back.
There aren't too many other things to say other than what Darnell has covered. Some of our Muslim colleagues are still upstairs, still asking questions, still in conversation with the police. One of the things we want to be able to do going forward from this is to make sure that the dialogue and the communication involves the entire community, people of all faiths. So we want to ensure that we sort of work our way through this very difficult incident as a Boston community, with everybody communicating and working together. The last time we suffered one of these tragedies was the Officer Moynihan and Angelo West event. The police had many of the same people in the room to have the same kind of conversation. And one of the requests that we made then when the video was clear, when it was fairly obvious in watching the video once what had happened, that they would do it repeatedly. They would do it the next time it happened. This time, there is video. We did see it. It certainly makes it clear that the gentleman was not shot in the back, that he was shot in the front. But the camera is at a distance, so you can't see it quite as clearly, and yet they're still working for the same level of transparency. So what we're working to establish as a community, as we do with police-community relationships and how we deal with these incidents, is that when it happens, that very quickly, the next day, immediately, we're together, we're talking, we're finding out what happened, and we're communicating with the public, with our constituencies, and with each other.
What was the question?
What was the...
Can you lay out the exact sequence of the events that you saw in the video? Where this is
Well, I'm going to sort of defer to the police on the exact sequence of the events. I can talk about what I saw and my reaction to it, but I'll let them talk about.
Did you see the police approaching? Did you see him pull out a knife?
What? We'll let them. Yeah. We'll get back to that.
Commissioner, the question was raised by one of the media corps that they want to get a sense of, and Special Agent Alissi, the question was really particularly is that what was the sequence of events of what we saw in the video? Okay. That's the question on the table.
Okay. I can talk.
Yeah, please.
And then we can finish. Again, with me is Special Agent in Charge Boston, Vince Lisi here, and I want to thank the clergy as well as thank everyone who came to today's meeting. Today's meeting was all about pulling the community together. I think when we had an officer-involved shooting over about a month ago, I made it clear that the protocol that we followed then would be followed here. And we did that. We had Muslim community, we had the clergy, all the denominations from around Boston. We had elected officials, NAACP, the Urban League. We had everybody in that room. And again, the whole idea was to be as transparent as possible. Now, because of the nature of the information and some of it being classified, obviously we couldn't get into great detail. But as we said yesterday, this was an investigation that was ongoing. It required 24/7 surveillance of the individual in question. At about 7:18, our officers went out there to only question the individual because the level of our concern rose to the level that we needed to question him. I think we never anticipated what his reaction would be, and that he would pull out, obviously, a military knife and approach the officers. I think what we seen in the video was the officers walking up to the suspect in question, no weapons being drawn, just to speak to the individual. At that point, the video clearly shows these 4 or 5 officers backtracking away from the suspect as he's coming at them. Now, the weapons aren't clearly displayed, but clearly by the officers' actions, all were backstepping as this individual was coming towards him. It's at some point when the suspect gets close enough to cause imminent harm to the officer that the officer discharged his weapon. Both the FBI and Boston both discharged. The individual was hit 3 times and he passed away. But the reason we spoke today, because there was a lot of misinformation out there about us, the individual at the bus stop being shot in the back. It was just to sort of calm down the emotions and, again, to explain to all our community partners that this is what happened. The FBI, Suffolk County DA is going to, they're both going to do their investigations on the use of force, but at this time, the whole reason to bring the community was together was to give them what information we could, and we had this video, and we made it clear we're going to release video, and I think that at least dispels some of the rumors, some of the tensions that might build. I think we laid it out for them, and I hope they appreciate that, but that's going to be our policy going
We do appreciate it, Commissioner.
He threatened to behead officers.
Again, there's some information we can't talk about. It's classified at this time. That's an area we can't go at this time.
Commissioner, why were 4 or 5 officers? Why were 4 or 5 officers needed to question him?
Well, all I can say is, again, this guy required 24/7 surveillance. So we thought the threat was severe enough that we had to approach him. We never expected what happened, but hopefully it will all come out later so there's a better understanding of the level of threat, but I can't go into anything more than, it was a very serious threat, and that's why we didn't take it lightly.
Is this video not nearly respond to this either, but I'm wondering if, as he was surveilled, if there were any reactions to the Sarnia verdict or any comments related to the Boston Marathon bombings that may have increased your concern about this man?
I can't comment on that.
The only thing that I would add, Commissioner made a comment about the community coming together, and this is not our first time coming together, and I wanted to commend the Commissioner, the command staff, the Suffolk County District Attorney, Carmen Ortiz's office, and Special Agent Lisi by bringing the clergy, community activists, and civil rights organizations together. It sends a very, very strong message, not only to this city, but to the Commonwealth, but also to the nation, that when we sit down at the table and we talk about these issues, where we see what evidence that it's available, then we can be able to relay out that this is not something that happens every day. So I want to commend Commissioner Evans for taking that kind of a leadership role that really speaks to where the Boston city of Boston is as it relates to these kind of incidents.
I think we all want to hear from you and the Islamic leaders with your impression. Does it jive with the Commissioner's impression that the officers were backing up and this suspect was going forward in an apparent arrest?
Based on the video that we saw, I would 150% collaborate with the Commissioner had just stated, that there was an approach to approach the suspect to talk with him. The officers were backing up what I saw, and then there were things that went down, as you already know, and that's an accurate statement. The only reason why we can't go beyond that, because the district attorney has to do his job as an ongoing investigation to determine whether or not that was a justifiable shoot, and that's kind of like where we are.
Can you physically recreate for us how the suspect is holding the knife for the officers?
I don't think it's appropriate for us to go into that kind of a line, because that's still part of the investigation. So I think the district attorney has to do his job, and his team, they will tell us who, what, when, where, why, and how, and that's going to take some time for them to go through all of the evidence as well as all of the surveillance. I would believe, I'm a forensic files kind of a guy, so they got to enhance that video so they can actually see all of the things that need to be transpired for him to do his report.
This video is far less clear than the Anglo West video was.
Say that again?
This video far less clear as to what happened and whether it's justified as the...
I think the video is clear, but it's distant. But the fact is that you cannot recognize who's in the video per se. You just see the silhouettes of individuals doing what they're doing. So we know who the officers are, we know who the suspect is, et cetera, et cetera. But that needs to be determined by the district attorney's role, whether or not it was a justifiable shoot.
Did you clearly see the knife in the video? Did you see that he was holding a military-style knife in the video?
I'm not going to answer that question, because I think that's where the investigation will determine.
Could you see it, though? You looked at the video.
I looked at the video, and I'm going to let the investigation tell you what was in his hand, where it was, and what happened after that. I'm not law enforcement. I'm a community.
Something. You could see he was holding something.
That's the third time you asked me that question.
Why did the search here prompt a search in Warwick? What have you learned from the search in Warwick is...
Again, I'll have to turn it over. The larger investigation is an FBI investigation. I don't want to comment, and I don't know if he can at this time either.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, we can't comment on any of the pending investigations. I can't say whether or not anything that happened in Warwick was or was not related to what happened here.
These searches are connected to the incident here in Boston. Is there another search this time? Is there pursuit of...
Again, we're not going to comment on any pending investigations whatsoever.
Couple more questions, please. Couple more.
What I want to talk about is something that Police Commissioner brought up, and this is a bit unusual, right? This is a step forward, perhaps, than what you've seen from law enforcement in the past. So the last police-involved shooting that we had, we made a decision. Let's put the video out there. 2 community leaders, let them make their own judgment on it earlier than we ordinarily would. We ordinarily wouldn't release video until the full investigation was done. Well, that could take many, many months. And as the police commissioner said, all that creates is a lot of rumors. So we decided once again to take this unprecedented step, if you will. You don't see this around the country, but we think it's important to let the community leaders take a look at it and make their own judgment. I'm sure you're going to question everybody that was in that room to ask them what they saw. But as Darnell Williams just said, The most important thing to do now is let us do our work. I'm not going to stop you from doing yours. I know you won't stop asking those questions, but it's very, very important that we get to the very bottom of exactly what happened, and we pledge that we will do that. Please give us that opportunity. Thank you.
Commissioner, knowing what you did leading up to the events yesterday, were you issuing any sort of warnings to your rank and file out in the street about protecting themselves?
Well, over the last couple of weeks, we had got intelligence from our Boston Regional Intelligence that military and law enforcement lives were a threat. They had disseminated that information. So over the last couple of weeks, we had put out several notices on our BRIC report about the threat of law enforcement and military bases being attacked. So this has been a notice that we've put out over the last month about us all being on our guard because of the intelligence that we had in what has happened not only across our country but across the nation, where officers have been attacked, military have been attacked. So we've put that information out repeatedly over the last couple months.
Does anyone know why Boston appears at this point to be particularly attractive to terrorists?
I don't think Boston's unlike any other city.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Imam Abdullah Farouk. I'm from the Mosque for the Praising of Allah. I'm speaking on behalf of the Muslim community. We want to express our gratitude to the officials by opening up this venue so that we could see what happened. The video is inconclusive. I don't think that he was shot in the back by virtue of that. However, we couldn't see clearly at all, and he was asking this question of whether he had brandishing a knife or not. It was very, like 1/20th of the overall frame, very far away. So we can't be clear as to what transpired. We want to express our gratitude. That's number one. The second thing we want to do is to be quiet until we see how this thing unfolds, so we can be clear about what they are able to share with us. And they said that they wanted to be transparent. We've gotten good feedback, and we want to know. We're happy for this reason as well, that the greater community of people, Muslim leaders and Christian leaders and civic leaders, are involved in this. So opening up this venue, and especially you as news reporters, how important is it for you to be here so that we will know what happened? We can't say what happened. We weren't there. We do see a very vague video that is not clear as to what transpired. Let me see what... it wasn't at a bus stop. He wasn't shot in the back. And there's no detail enough clear on the video to tell us exactly what happened. However, he was approaching them. They did back up. Evidently, by evidence of his death, he was fired upon. So our community in our congregation of Muslims throughout Boston are very determined in opening up our hearts and minds to find out exactly what transpired. There are a lot of questions that we have, and we hope that these questions will be answered in the future. So
did you see anything that troubled you, or no? I mean, you couldn't find the answers definitively, but was there anything?
It's inconclusive. She's telling me what to say. Inconclusive, and that's the best thing I can say, because I can't make out clearly what transpired. I do feel personally, this is not for the Muslim community. They might approach him in a different way.
A couple more questions, please.
Was this spell your name, sir?
Abdullah, Abdullah. Last name Farouk, Faaruuq, Mosque for the Praising of Allah.
And would she like to speak?
Oh, she's going to speak.
No, I have no comment. We all from the Muslim community throughout Boston.
We agree on the same thing, that we're not going to try to approach this until we have more information. We're giving the investigators time enough to go ahead and dig into it more deeply and to clarify some of what transpired. We're not satisfied until it's fully vetted and we find out what's happening. They're not satisfied. Are you satisfied yet?
Well,
not yet.
Until the information comes out, again, there's a lot of classified information that I think when it's released, people had a better sense of the level of threat. And I think that's what's missing from the video here. I think what the video clearly shows is, the weapons aren't clearly visible, but you can clearly see officers approaching the suspect here with no weapons drawn. And then all of a sudden you see 5 FBI agents in Boston retreating, backing on their feet with their hands up like this. And from the witnesses' accounts, from officers' accounts, giving commands, drop the weapon, and then unfortunately we see the suspect shot. So I think the video's clear as far as 5 officers retreating who would never be retreating unless there was an imminent threat. And you see them probably retreat a good 15 to 20 yards with a threat coming at them. I think we can all agree we see that in the video. The weaponry isn't as clear, but the fact that 5 officers had to retreat with a threat coming at them, I don't think anyone can doubt that was in the video.
I'd like to say one more thing.
Was that hampering what you see on the video at all because it was raining?
There's some rain, there's a few raindrops on the lens, but again, this is an ongoing investigation. The FBI and the DA's office is going to continue with this investigation, and as we get more information, we'll get that out to you.
Yes, the issue now is about the living. The family is pained and suffering, and however this pans out, a mother has lost her child, her youngest. This is my concern for today. About the ongoing investigation, we have a lot of people involved in that. We'll see how it turns out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I hope so.
Okay.